Hello, friends. It's Miss Couch, your teaching artist from Kid Smart. Today I have four illustrations from an old book to talk about. We're going to see what we can notice in the details. We're going to see what is different from picture to picture and what is the same. Then we'll try to make some guesses about what we might find in the story that goes with these illustrations. And I'll show you how to read along with me for the brief introduction to these stories. And then we'll find out if we were right in the things that we noticed in the picture and how they relate to the book. So here we start with an illustration. There's a sweet smiling face of a doll. She is wearing some old-fashioned clothes. We see that she's got pants that go down almost to her shoes. They're much longer than her dress. She's wearing some kind of apron. She has little black shoes on. And look at her hands. What do you see on her hands? They look kind of funny because she has no fingers. It's like she's wearing mittens. So there she is with her white mittens. And what color is in her dress? Her dress is blue with some polka dots. There's a triangle behind her. That's very interesting. What do you think that triangle is about? It's black. It's filled with flowers. And look at her hand. That mittened hand looks like she's holding on to the top of the triangle. Like maybe it's a jungle gym that she's climbed and her legs are flipping up. Have you ever climbed on the playground on a piece of equipment where you hung by your arms or flipped your legs up to try to catch your knees on the bar or your feet on the bar? It looks like Raggedy Ann might be playing on a jungle gym. But really, it's this triangle in the illustration. And I notice the triangle is pointed down. That's interesting. Let's talk about her face a little bit. We said she's smiling. In this picture, can we tell very much else about her face? It looks maybe like it's painted on. And what about her hair? Her hair is dark. It's not very long. It is kind of flying up at the top, so maybe it's kind of messy. There's not much we can tell about her hair. Let's look at the second picture. Okay, here we have the same doll, this time sitting in a corner. And what do we see about her now? It's easier to see her hair. Now it looks kind of brown. It's still pretty messy. How is she sitting in that corner? Can you make your arms like this doll's arms? They're crossed in front of her up high by her face. And her feet are crossed too. What else do we see in the picture? I think that is a pencil she is holding. A pencil stuck into her arms and maybe in her hand. Her face looks the same. She still has the same smile. And what is on the table next to her? I can see that someone has made a drawing. And the drawing looks like it is also Raggedy Ann. I can see her legs are crossed, her arms are crossed. When I look very closely, I can see that she is even holding the same pencil in her arms. And there is one more thing on the table. I wonder what that thing is. How can we describe it? It is round. It is black. It is small, but not that small. You could hold it in your hand. I wonder what is in that little jar. Or is it a pot? What do you think that is? And what is that for? Let's look at our next picture. Oh, here we have something totally different. The doll is not in this picture. Instead, we have another girl character, but I think this is a real girl, not a doll. What do you think when you look at this character? I see she has hands with fingers, no glove. And I see that she is standing by a window where the light comes in. The rest of the picture is pretty dark, but she is standing by a window. So she needs the light to see things. And what does she see? There are some big boxes in this room with her. Maybe one of them is a trunk, a box for hats, a table. That table's not even sitting on the ground. I don't know why that table is kind of turned sideways. And there's a barrel. This is all very interesting. And what is in her hands? It's round. And she has both hands on it. Maybe it is moving. Maybe it is spinning. What do you think that could be? It looks like a bicycle wheel, maybe. Maybe it's an upside down bicycle. Maybe the story will tell us. I wonder what that wheel is. And I wonder who this little girl is. Let's look at our fourth picture. Oh, now this is interesting. We have the doll back and we have the girl. Same girl from before? Let's look. I think so. She has the same little pointy nose and the same reddish brown hair. So there is the little girl, and she is holding the doll with a smile. The doll is wearing the same clothes, and she's looking kind of messy with her hair still. And look on this next to her, on the side, I think that is another doll. What do you think? What is different about this doll? This doll on the side, I think she has curly yellow hair. What is different about her dress? Her dress does not look like the first doll. The first doll with her mittens and her apron looks like a country doll, but this doll is much fancier. I see she has a hat with maybe feathers or flowers on it. That's fancy. And she has a ruffle around her neck and a belt on her dress. So maybe she is a city doll. And the doll in the middle is a rag doll, a country doll. What about the background in this picture? This is different. Before, there was a window and it was kind of dark, kind of gray. But in this picture, what color is the background? It's black. Isn't that interesting? All right, let's read the introduction together to see what is happening with these pictures. Do you have any guesses you want to make first? What do you think they will explain in our introduction? Will they tell us who drew the picture? What is in the black pot? Will they tell us about the girl in the window and the mysterious wheel she is spinning? Will they tell us what is inside these strange boxes and barrels? And will we learn about either one of these dolls? Let's find out. I have a link for you to follow, and it will take you to the very beginning of the introduction. And we can see here the picture with the girl in the window, and we can see the name Johnny Gruelle. Johnny Gruelle is the author of the Raggedy Ann stories, and that is what we're going to learn about. Let's read together. Marcella liked to play up in the attic at Grandma's quaint old house, way out in the country, for there were so many old forgotten things to find up there. One day when Marcella was up in the attic and had played with the old spinning wheel until she'd grown tired of it, she curled up on an old horsehair sofa to rest. I wonder what is in that barrel, way back in the corner, she thought, as she jumped from the sofa and climbed over two dusty trunks to the barrel, standing back under the eaves. It was quite dark back there, so when Marcella had pulled a large bundle of things from the barrel, she took them over to the dormer window where she could see better. There was a funny little bonnet with long white ribbons, and Marcella put it on. In an old leather bag she found a number of tintypes of queer-looking men and women in old-fashioned clothes. And there was one picture of a very pretty little girl with long curls tied tightly back from her forehead and wearing a long dress and queer pantaloons which reached to her shoe tops. And then out of the heap she pulled an old rag doll with only one shoe-button eye and a painted nose and a smiling mouth. Her dress was of soft material, blue with pretty little flowers and dots all over it. Forgetting everything else in the happiness of her mind, Marcella caught up the rag doll and ran downstairs to show it to Grandma. "Well, well, where did you find it?" Grandma cried. "It's old Raggedy Ann," she went on as she hugged the doll to her breast. "I had forgotten her. She has been in the attic for 50 years, I guess. Well, well, dear old Raggedy Ann, I will sew another button on her right away." And Grandma went to the machine drawer and got her needle and thread. Marcella watched the sewing while Grandma told how she had played with Raggedy Ann when she was a little girl. "Now," Grandma laughed, "Raggedy Ann, you have two fine shoe-button eyes, and with them you can see the changes that have taken place in the world while you have been shut up so long in the attic. For Raggedy Ann, you have a new playmate and mistress now, and I hope you will both have as much happiness together as you and I used to have." Then Grandma gave Raggedy Ann to Marcella, saying very seriously, "Marcella, let me introduce my very dear friend Raggedy Ann. Raggedy, this is my granddaughter Marcella." And Grandma gave the doll a twitch with her fingers in such a way that the rag doll nodded her head to Marcella. "Oh, Grandma, thank you ever and ever so much," Marcella cried as she gave Grandma a hug and kiss. "Raggedy Ann and I will have just loads of fun." And this is how Raggedy Ann joined the doll family at Marcella's house, where she began the adventures of Raggedy Ann told in the following stories. All right, friends, what did we learn here? Did we learn anything about what is in the pot, the black jar? No, we did not. Did we learn anything about Raggedy Ann in this triangle? Well, in the story, it said she had on a dress that was very soft, so we know that about her clothes. And it said that it was blue with flowers and dots all over it. So this is kind of fuzzy. They look like fuzzy dots, not flowers, but it's pretty close. And we learned that there was a tintype. If you don't know what a tintype is, that's something to Google and find out. It is an old-fashioned photograph before they put photographs on paper. But in that description of the tintype, it said there was a little girl with tight curls held back from her face that had a long dress and even longer pants that went all the way down to her shoes. So Raggedy Ann must be dressed like the little girl in the tintype. Maybe the little girl in the tintype was the grandma. I don't know. Now here's the picture that they told us a lot about. They told us Marcella. Oh, that must be the girl's name, Marcella. They told us that she played with the spinning wheel. So that is not a bicycle wheel, it's a spinning wheel. And if you don't know what that is, that's another thing for you to Google and find out what was a spinning wheel for. Can you think of any other stories that have a spinning wheel? I can think of 2 stories with a spinning wheel. The story Rumpelstiltskin has a spinning wheel in it. Rumpelstiltskin says he can turn straw into gold with a special magical spinning wheel. And the second spinning wheel story I can think of is in this fairy tale of Sleeping Beauty. Sleeping Beauty sneaks away and finds a spinning wheel and she hurts herself. She hurts her finger on a needle and it puts her to sleep for 100 years. So those are 2 other stories you can look for to find more spinning wheels in stories. Then it tells us that she saw a barrel back in the corner under the eaves. So she must be in the attic of the house where they have stored things. Oh, that's right. It says she's in her grandma's attic. So she drags the barrel to the window where she can see, just like we talked about. Good job, friends. And here we have the last picture where she is looking at this doll, and it says she forgot everything and ran downstairs with just this doll. So I think she must have left the other doll up in the attic. And what happened when her grandma saw this doll? Was her grandma happy or sad to see this doll? What did it make her grandma remember? Oh, and we found out something about the doll's face. The grandma took Raggedy Ann, for that is the name of the doll, and sewed on a button for her eye because she was missing a button for her eye. So we have learned a lot in this introduction about Raggedy Ann. We've learned she has buttons for eyes, that her dress has flowers and polka dots, that she has on old-fashioned clothes with pantaloons. If you don't know that word, you can look it up. They go all the way down to the tops of her shoes. We have learned that she has a new mistress named Marcella. Marcella is a little girl with kind of reddish hair. And her grandma used to own Raggedy Ann. And now she belongs to Marcella. Do you think your grandma has anything left from the time when she was a little girl? Do you think your grandma has an old doll or an old picture or an old dress that has been saved all these years. Marcella's grandma says that doll has been in the attic for 50 years. I wonder if you could find out anything about your family history by asking your grandma if there's something special that she saved or passed down to another grandchild or even to a son or daughter. These are all questions you can ask at your house to see if there are any special things, any family heirlooms. There's another word you can look up that will tell you something about the life of your grandparents. That's all for today, friends. But next time, I will have a story in which Raggedy Ann and Marcella come back with new friends. Now, if you are using this link, you can see there is a table of contents, more pictures, more stories. You can read any of these yourself. But next week I will come back with Raggedy Ann and the Kite. Have a good week until then. Bye, friends.